So yeah, kind of fascinated by a lot of these videos. There's also like classic videos that will talk about historical people, serial killers and things like that there, which, you know, I don't glorify at all. You know, my interest in those videos is, why do they do it? What makes them do it? Or sometimes they don't know, and then it's like, why do you think they did it? You know, what, asking them, why do you think you did it? And sometimes they can answer, and you'll get like some of it and they won't really know. But then I think the worst ones is when they don't know, or they do know and they say that they don't know and they will never tell. I think those are the hardest for the family to take, you know, because you do want you kind of want answers to, you know, why did you do this? You know, was what you did about the person that you did it to, or was it about something else, or was it something else going on, but that person would happen to be there at the time? You know, that's what families need to know is, you know, why did you do it? And that's kind of, it's kind of a, you know, it'll never bring the person back, but it will give some kind of closure to what the family are looking for. They'll never forgive, but they just want to understand how it happened. And sometimes the families never know, and the perpetrators will take it to their grave, which is just, it's a shame for the families. But yeah, so that's the true crime stuff. I can't really think of the other channels that I watch. I think I mentioned a lot of them yesterday. I can't think of any. I do watch a lot more than that, obviously, but I can't remember all the names of the channels. Like, a bit of a shout out to Emma Kenny, because she's British, and Adrian from Coffee House Crimes, because he's British as well. Well, he's kind of American British, but you know, there's a lot more American and Canadian channels that do that. Like I said, This Is Monsters is one of them. This Is Monsters is really good. I've been watching that for probably about at least 2 years, and I've watched him sort of develop and grow his channel and change re-edit his opening title and things like that there. And it's this blue paint's starting to thicken again, but I've done most of the edges. I might actually do that bit before I do that bit, because before the paint thickens and I can't do it. Oh, that's so much better. Yep. So yeah, so the true crime. So I kind of like films that are like that, and TV shows that are crime based. I mean, I don't like every crime show. Like, I don't like NCSI, or I'll say I don't like them. They just don't appeal to me. CSI would be as far as I go with that. You know, I'm not into your Murder, She Wrote, Columbo, although I did stuff that I grew up on. It used to be on the TV. It was still being made at the time, I think in the 80s, so it was still a thing. Peter Falk was still doing his thing, but it kind of just did the same thing at the end of the videos, because he'd always keep going back to talk to the same person. But his famous line is when he goes to the door and he kind of stops, and he kind of either touches his head or he touches his mouth, and he goes, oh yeah, there's just one more thing. And when you've watched enough of them, you kind of know, well, this is the person that he thinks it is, or this is the person that it is. But the thing is, you don't know, because he talks to different people in different places, so you don't know where he's going to do that line. And I mean, it was good of its time. It still likes to be, I think it still likes to be played during the daytime over here. I know Murder, She Wrote is, which is not really, it's not made for me. It's not made for me. My mum likes it. It's not really made for my generation, and probably generations younger than that. Let's see if there's any more blue, because I think, see, let's see what number the other blue is. I can find it. Number 9. No, number 6. It's number 6. So let me just check. So that's 6. That's 6. That's 6. Yeah, I think I'll change to 6, because I think, if I remember rightly, I think that is done. I can always come back and tidy it a little bit. Let me just tidy these edges. Sharpen them up. Yeah, because see, some things actually become dated. If you're watching, like, even if you watch like the early, well, probably all the seasons of 24, there are no smartphones in it until probably like season, I don't know when it started, was it 2001? So the iPhone came out in 2007, so probably, season 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So by season 6, I think from season 7, smartphones existed. But before that, they had the little flip phones, and now if you look back on even like a modern TV show like that, if you look back on it, the mobile phone dates the series, and there's nothing they can do about that. There's no point in going in and digitally replacing a phone for another phone, for a smartphone. It's kind of craziness. You just don't do it. So is that 6 or 9? Don't know. So if that's 6, yeah, it's a 6. I think I'll do 6 next. Like it's going to butt up against the other blues, but. So my question again, looking up, oh, I've missed that bit there. I'm actually going to do that really quickly. Looking at it as it is, it's still quite abstract. So looking at it the way it is now, you may have already guessed yesterday. So looking at it now I've done this light blue properly, any guesses on what you think it might be? Anything? Just all your guesses. Just keep putting your guesses in the comment section. Just keep them coming in. You never know. You probably are right if you're creative and you've got an eye for this kind of thing. But yeah. So this is number 6, and this is the mid blue we talked about. Because we have the dark blue, the light blue, and then this is the mid blue. And the mid blue kind of mixes in with the light blue. Yep, still on camera. So now the bottom of this canvas actually goes off camera. So we're just checking because this is quite low down. So we just clean this up. So it cleans up the thing that I was doing with the light blue. So in the mid blue, This paint's not actually that bad at the moment. I think it probably will thicken up. So this is just like a tiny, tiny little section. I can kind of, I might have to come over at this angle. I might have to spin it to get a tighter angle. Because the other right-handed people can only do so much. It's the same if you're left-handed. You'd have to spin it the other way to get to sharpen the line on the other side. So yeah, I can get that properly now. There we go. Just get the top. There we go. That's done now. So the next section of 6 is there, and that comes right out to here. And I'm liking when the colours are side by side, because it kind of you get a better look at what it is, because it starts to take shape, because it's starting, parts of it are actually coming together. So it's very close, because I've got to remember that the light blue is still wet. Well, some of it is anyway, not all of it, but now it's all been done, I don't know what parts are still wet and what parts aren't, especially because I've turned it round. But so I've got to be careful not to lean on any of the light blue. Just got to watch where I place my hand. Yeah. Yeah. So I liked Game of Thrones, and I actually liked House of the Dragon. Now I was a bit worried about House of the Dragon, because I liked Game of Thrones, and I was wondering if, what do you call him? R. Martin, I can't remember his first name. I've actually got the books, so I can tell you what he's called. George R. Martin actually did a blinder with the prequel series. I'm like, having Matt Smith in it, Doctor Who Matt Smith, that was a bit of a treat. I did like his Doctor Who. Yeah, I like Doctor Who as well. I do like Doctor Who. I like New Who. In the classic ones, you see the Doctor that I grew up, and this is really going to age me. You kind of know how old I am, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So the Doctor before New Who, I think even you could even include New Who in that, actually. The longest serving Doctor, who did the most seasons. This is why he's most people's Doctor, because he spans 70s into 80s, is Tom Baker. And he was, you know, because you've got your Doctor Who. If you're into Doctor Who, you've got your Doctor. It's like the James Bond thing. It's like when I was growing up. So Sean Connery wasn't my Bond, because his films came out before I was born. But I've come to appreciate his films, and I think he's one of the, if not the best James Bond. But when I was growing up, Roger Moore was my Bond. It's very tongue-in-cheek, very comedy, one-liners and bit camp and stuff like that. But like I said, he was, because that's how he would do it. The one that you grew up with is what you say is your Bond, but that doesn't mean he's your favourite. So, like a Doctor Who is. So, obviously, Tom Baker's up there, But so we're looking at New Who. David Tennant is kind of like everybody's favourite. He had his catchphrases as well. Alonzi and timey-wimey. Yeah, he had a good spell actually. I think he did. So he did season 2, season 3, season 4, and then he did a load of specials, which kind of was like a season 5. So he actually did the longest. And I remember reading about Matt Smith. Matt Smith actually regrets leaving. He actually said that he wished he'd stayed for longer because once you're gone, you're gone. That would be the normal setup for a Doctor Who. Once you regenerate and you regenerate into somebody else, that's you done, unless you do, you know, like they did in the classic ones, the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, you know, they can do that. And they did that in the 50th anniversary. They had Matt Smith was back, David Tennant was back, there was a War Doctor as well. But something very fascinating happened, because I think I remember reading back in the original setup for Doctor Who, he could only regenerate 13 times. That was the premise of it, and because Jodie was the 13th Doctor, if she regenerated again, I know they changed it so that it doesn't matter now, but if they didn't change it, she would regenerate, as in how it's laid out, she would regenerate into nothing, because after 13 regenerations, or maybe she would be the 13th regeneration, I'm not sure, or if 12 regenerated in 13 is the 13th, I don't know. But either she was the last, or the last one, or the next one was the last. But I mean, I don't know if you've seen the kind of, I didn't watch the regeneration, I watched it on YouTube, and that's where I found out there was a buzz about who Jodie regenerated into. Now, if you don't want spoilers, you can skip away and come back. Okay, we're into the spoiler zone now. So, Jodie regenerated into the 10th Doctor. And the 10th Doctor, the actor who plays him almost has the word 10th in his name. So the 10th Doctor is David Tennant. Now, a Doctor, as far as I remember, I mean, I've not watched all the classic ones, but from the New Who, the Doctor has never gone regenerated backwards to, so he regenerated from 13 back to the 10th Doctor, and everyone loved that. Everyone was like, oh yeah, we want to see David back, we want to see him again, see what he's going to do. So apparently he's going to be back for some specials, including, I think he's doing the 60th anniversary as well. But also, Russell T Davies is back, because Russell T Davies finished his tenure, because he brought Doctor Who back, as we know. He finished his tenure, so he did. Chris Eccleston did 1 season. That's the funny thing about Chris Eccleston, because he'd finished season 1, and I don't know if he'd done the Christmas special or not, but he actually announced in the papers that he was quitting. And in your contract for Doctor Who is, if you decide to quit, in your contract, you've got to do a regeneration, because otherwise actors would quit left, right, centre, and it would be really difficult. I mean, it's less difficult with today's special effects. They could actually make a Christopher Eccleston a good enough version of him that regenerates into David Tennant, but it's in their contract, so they have to, if they decide to quit at the end of a season or wherever it is, I think they're obliged to do out their contract, But in their contract, if they decide to leave at the end of the season, they have to do a regeneration, because that's in the contract, which is that is amazing. I'd never thought that would have been in the contract, but it does make complete sense, because they need this Doctor to regenerate into that Doctor. So I can see why it's in the contract, because if an actor just decides to go at any time and you haven't locked in the regeneration, then you're going to be up the creek without a paddle. But they locked it in, and I don't know if they locked it in during the classic series. I'm not really sure, because it wasn't as put together as it is now. Even the BBC with contracts and things, they kind of like, they didn't know how long each Doctor was going to do, and I think it was usually up to the Doctor himself when he wanted to go. I think that's why Tom Baker, because Tom Baker is very quirky, is a very quirky actor in real life, and he brought that quirkiness to I think he's the 4th Doctor, yeah. So he brought that quirkiness to his character, and I think because he liked jelly babies and things like that, he had the really long scarf that is really iconic. It's kind of, if you had like a silhouette of the 4th Doctor, but you had the hat that he wears and the long scarf, everybody knows who that is. So it's kind of iconic. Even if you just had his scarf, even if you just had his scarf on screen, wrapped around an invisible neck, you know which Doctor that is. Alonzi. So I'm looking forward to these specials, but I don't think these specials come out until next year. There's quite a lot of delays with things like House of Dragon season 2 is coming out next year. A lot of these, like the Avatar films, have been pushed back. Talking 2025, 2027, 2030, you know. We're not getting any younger here. Speak for myself. But yeah, I did think House of Dragon would be out, season 2 would be out this year, but there's a lot of post-production work that goes into them, especially with the dragons. There's a lot of special effects, because it's medieval times, but it's medieval fantasy, which kind of hooks me in there, because I think medieval on its own, although I do like period things, there are certain period things that I like. I haven't finished it all though. The Tudors. Henry Cavill's in that. I liked Paul Dark. It took me a long time, because I kept stopping and starting. It took me a long time to get through that. That's on Netflix. There was Becoming Elizabeth. That was good. Oh yeah, there was so I'll just list these off. So there's I can't think of what it was going to say then. I've forgotten it, so I'll go on to the next one. So there's the Last Kingdom. I've only watched 4 of the 5 seasons of that. I'm going to go back and start it. There's really good show is Vikings. Oh, that's awesome. A show that started out on the Discovery Channel, and I thought it was like because I knew I started watching that on the back of like season 3 of Game of Thrones, and I was still into kind of dragons and things. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if there's like dragons and things in Vikings. I don't really know, but it was more of a historical drama. But now I don't know if MGM owns the Discovery Channel. I don't really know, but so I think when we got into the 3rd season, it was starting to be produced by the MGM, and a lot of money was thrown at it, and you could see it on screen. Like season 3 was amazing, season 4 was a 2-parter, season 5 was a 2-parter, season 6 was a 2-parter. And if you've got an Amazon Prime account, you probably know it's there. If that's your thing. It's kind of like Game of Thrones without dragons, but it's the mythos of the whole gods and things, you know, the Norse gods and things like that there. But it moves around a little bit. So it's in like in Scandinavia, you know, in the Scandinavian countries, but it does move around a bit. I don't want to give any spoiler away if you do want to watch it, but I really enjoyed it. I think I watched 1 and 2 when it, and I don't think anyone was really watching it back then when it was on Discovery. I actually found it by accident, and I wasn't actually sure I liked it.